All right, guys, so this is the start to the Chapter 3 test review. Here we have the first problem. It says sketch the graph of each line. Anytime we want to sketch a graph of a line, we probably want to start out with y equals mx plus b form. That's our slope-intercept form. So that means that's slope, and that is our y-intercept. And those two pieces of information tell us a lot about a graph and allow us to put it on a graph very easily. Okay, we see this first problem is already in slope-intercept form. No work needed. Now we just have to check to see which graph matches it. Well, if I know my y-intercept is -3, that means ours has to go through the point 0, -3. So I check all my graphs to see which ones do that. My first one goes through right here at 0, -3, so it's still in the running. Our second one, it should cross right here at 0, -3, and it does not, so it is out of the question. Our third graph should cross at 0, -3. It does. And our fourth one does not. So we're already down to a 50-50 shot just from that information. Next, I see I need a slope of +1/5. Positive means it is an increasing line. Well, this one looks good. Does it go up 1 and over 5? Up 1. And then check this. This is a 2 right here. So over 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, it does. A is our answer. Just to make sure, C, this one goes up 1 and then left, so that would be a negative slope. That's a decreasing line. C is out. For number 2, again, we can't graph it from standard form. We need to get it into slope-intercept form. So I have 3x minus 5y equals -10, and I want to isolate that y variable. I want to get y by itself, okay? Once I have y by itself, that's my goal. Once I have y by itself, then I can graph it. So I subtract 3x from both sides. Those are going to cancel. I have -5y on the left equals, I'm going to go ahead and write this -3x in front because I know that's what I need for slope-intercept form. Then I have a -10 or a -10. My next step is divide each side by whatever number's in front of here, which is a -5. I divide by -5. Those cancel. This -5 goes to both pieces. So it's y equals -3 and -5 become a +3/5 x. And then -10 divided by -5 is a +2. Okay? So that's my y-intercept form, my slope-intercept form. Now I just got to find the graph for that. Now, in the last one, I did it by hand. This one, again, you can do it by hand. It's very easy. Just do it by hand. Find which one goes through +2. I would already be marking out A. A does not go through 0, 2. But to show you another option, you can also graph these once you get them in this form. Because look, we have y by itself. Well, that's exactly how it looks whenever we go to do a graph in our calculator. We have y by itself right here. So if I wanted to type that in, alpha y equals, press enter. That's my fraction bar. 3/5, arrow over, x variable, and then +2. This is the only time we get to use these x variables. Only use them when graphing. I do zoom 6 because I'm not sure what someone else left me. And look, now we can see, look, this goes through 1, 2, goes through +2 right here. And it's got a slight upward slope. So we can just match up the graph with that. Well, that one, as I said, did not go through the right spot. So A is out. This one, B, looks good. It goes through 2 and it has a slight upward slope. Let's just check the others to be careful. Oh, this one goes through 2, but that's a downward slope. That's not what we want. And this one doesn't go through 2 at all. So yes, B was our answer. Okay? On to number 3, write the equation of each line. Okay, so we're given the graph. From the graph, there's a couple things we can tell. Namely, we can tell what our slope was. We can also tell what a y-intercept was. So I'm thinking this probably needs to go in the format y equals mx plus b. Well, that slope, I find 2 points on the graph. That looks like a good one, and that one also is at a vertex. All of these are at vertexes, so I can count to any of them. Look, this slope is up 1 over 1. So that'd be a rise of 1 and a run of 1. But 1 over 1 we know is just 1. Okay, so my slope is 1. My y-intercept, guys, please remember, I keep saying it, y-intercept. So I'm looking for where does it cross this y-axis, and it crosses it at 0, -1, okay? So that -1 is our intercept. What that means is we have y equals 1x minus 1. And I don't ever write this 1 here. It's an understood one. So it should just be y equals x minus 1. And that's our answer, C. First few problems, very easy. This next one takes a step up in difficulty. Again, we can identify a couple pieces. We can see that our slope, again, is 1. And our y-intercept this time is a positive 1 because this is the point 0, 1. And that y-intercept is right there. Okay? So now I put it in that format. I have y equals 1x plus 1 or y equals x plus 1. And I say, okay, I'm done. But then you look down here and you notice none of our answers look like that. All of our answers are in standard form. So we have to change this equation. We've got to get the x and the y on the same side. See, x and a y, x and a y, x and y. They're all in standard form. So I've got to get that x over on the left. I subtract x from both sides. Those are going to cancel, but these just sit here next to each other. They are not like terms. We cannot combine them. Our very final step is we either divide everything or multiply everything by -1. Because remember, in standard form, we can't have this front number be negative. So we multiply by -1. What this essentially does, guys, it just flips every sign. We get x minus y equals -1, and that would be my answer, A. Okay? On number 5, write the slope intercept. So I'm already thinking, what is that? Okay, it's on your formula sheet, y equals mx plus b, slope intercept form of each equation. So then I look down here and I realize, oh wait, those aren't that hard after all. It's not a lot of work. These are more of just vocabulary problems. Can you memorize them problems? Okay, this is a vertical line. Vertical line. Every single formula for a vertical line looks like x equals some number. And it's whatever number this line goes through. This one's at 4. So it's x equals 4. And think about that. That means at x equals 4, here's an answer. Well, also at x equals 4, there's an answer. There's an answer. All of these are our answers. It encompasses every single y value. X equals 4 is every single option. X equals 4. Remember, our calculator won't figure that one out for us. That one you got to know. But check out this second one, okay? This is a horizontal line. Every horizontal line has a formula of y equals some number, whatever number it passes through. Well, on our y-axis, we see this passes through right here at -3. So our value is y equals -3. And if you ever forget which is which, guys, which one can our calculator do? The y one, because look, it's got y equals as the way we graph these. Let's graph this second one, see if it matches up. -3, enter, and then I zoom 6 so that I get that standard graph. And that looks a whole heck of a lot like our other graph. So you can check this one. And then if you sit there and check that one and you've forgotten what how the first one works, you can think, well, that one's horizontal and it was y equals a number. Well, that means this one must be x equals a number. It's got to be the other one. It can't be the same thing. If we graph this one because we think that's what it is, let's graph it and see. Let's graph that very first option on that last problem. If we think that it could potentially be y equals 4, like that option A on number 5, we look and we say, wait, no, option A on number 5 put a line up here. Well, that's definitely not what we wanted for number 5. So if you ever forget which is which, know that you can graph one of them. We can graph this thing. We cannot graph x equals a number, okay? On to number 7. This says, again, we want these in slope intercept form. So what we want is check it. These y's are all by themselves, okay? So we want to isolate that y variable. I don't think I have enough room to work this problem right here. I'm going to move on over to another page. Okay? So check it, make sure you copy the problem down right. Whenever I come look at your work on these problems, whenever like you raise your hand and ask for help, one of the first things I do is I check to make sure you copied the problem down right. I'm guilty of messing that up all the time. Here we go. We want y by itself. Okay, remember, that's our goal. I keep identifying this because people get lost in these problems and forget what they were trying to do. So first things first, we've got to subtract 13x from each side. When these cancel out, we get left with a -7y equals. I'm going to go ahead and write the -13x first. Why? Because I've been looking back and forth at the answers, and I've noticed all of these have an x written as the first thing, and then they have a plain old number. okay, because it's slope intercept.